and love, connections, dreams, getaway experiences. Brave Heart Workshops. Unique Getaways live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show. Restore, renew, and reconnect with community. Sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops live with Jill Reynolds. And my guest today is Dr. Kris Sargent. How are you today, Kris?
Hey, Jill. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm doing pretty good. The sun is shining, and we're all in an interesting place right now.
You can't complain. We're alive. That's all that matters, right?
That's right.
Well, I wanted to share with the audience a little bit about who you are, Kris, if you don't mind. Let me just tell you a little bit about her bio. Dr. Kris Sargent has a big personality, a big heart, and a big dream to solve a worldwide problem. Dr. Kris has a bachelor's degree in biology and psychology, a second bachelor's degree in human biology, a Doctor of Chiropractic, post-doctoral master's of advanced clinical science degree with hundreds of postgraduate hours in functional and clinical nutrition and internal medicine. She's committed to eliminate chronic diseases off the face of the earth. As a child, dancing was her passion, and yet she struggled with her weight and body image. Kris began to approach weight from a wellness perspective, and she learned to look at the whole body, not just a number on a scale. She allowed weight to become less of her focus and started to look at health for the long term. Dr. Kris brings her expertise to health and life coaching and the best of functional medicine, weight loss, and life transformation to her clientele. Her focus is on healing the body by restoring function through natural methods. She's a Doctor-Preneur, an author, professional speaker, a course creator, a mom, and the owner of Restor Healing Centre in Glen Ellyn. What an amazing bio. I don't know how, you must have started at 5 years old in school.
I totally did. Yeah, absolutely did. Doogie Howser original.
I love it. And then, of course, when House came on, the TV show, you had to watch every episode to see if you could diagnose the
Loved it. And I was usually right on top of him.
Well, I used to love to watch that show because I've had some major, weird health issues that literally I've seen. I can't even begin to tell you how many doctors over the years that have said to me, we know something's wrong. We don't know what it is. We don't think it's going to kill you, but keep seeking medical advice till someone figures it out. And so when I used to watch House, Kris, I used to think, I wish I could be one of his patients and he could figure me out.
Well, Jill, now you could be one of mine.
I will.
Because you sound just like most of my patients, frankly.
Well, I'd love to do that. And I said to my husband, and then I want you to share about you. I said to my husband, when I pass away, you have to make sure you do an autopsy so they can check out all my cells, because I have a son, and that way if anything's genetic or whatever, at least he'll know. But anyway, enough of that with me. I want to have the audience know about you and share a little bit about this bio and what you do to help others.
Yeah, well, you just led right into it with your own stuff. So, the beautiful thing about the human body is that, and chronic disease, is that it's only about 10 to 30% genetically driven. So chances are your son it's not going to get passed to him that way. But what we also know is that the other 70 to 90% is our lifestyle. And so that goes into our social conditioning, our social circles, how we were raised as kids, and then what we're passing on to our family as what we eat, how we drink, how we move, how we sleep, and then our thought processes and the way that we believe our feelings drive our behavior. And so those are that's the basis of what's going on, right? We're just the results, right? Like if you didn't take care of your car and you ended up on the side of the road, right? You'd be like, oh, I don't understand what happened to my car. Because you never changed the oil and it's got 70,000 miles on it. if you didn't take care of it, there's some place along the line it's not going to be able to compensate anymore, right? And so us as genetic beings, every single one of us is different. And I get this question all the time, like, well, my girlfriend Susie, you know, she eats anything she wants and she feels fabulous and she's 40 pounds and then she's a size 0, right? Well, that's great for Susie. However, we're all genetically different. And so our lifestyles have to be personalized to whatever's going on in our own body. Just like a Ferrari needs a different kind of tune-up than a Toyota.
You know, that makes a real lot of sense to me because, Kris, I was in a major car accident in 2011, which left me disabled. And I had to have 2 new knees and a new hip, and then it completely destroyed my spine. And as a result of it, I became almost ambulatory, and to the point, my passion. Before my accident, I used to live in Algonquin, Illinois, and right behind my house was a 2.5-mile walking path, and I loved walking. And when the accident occurred, the ortho put my hip 2 inches over too far to the right on top of my piriformis muscle. And so my whole right leg feels like it's got about a 50-pound weight on it. And I'm off by a whole inch. And so it tilts my whole pelvis. And so structurally, there can't be anything to be done. I've had like 5 different orthopedics look at it. So I've had to live at 66 years old in a state of like very much non-movement. The only thing that I can do is water aerobics. And so I was a water aerobics instructor right before the pandemic. And I was doing that 3 times a week. And I can kickbox in the water and move. And all of a sudden, all of the weight that I've been carrying since my car accident started just falling off. Like just falling. And now that the pandemic hit and I can't get in the water again, I've put like 6 pounds back on. And I know it's never, I've done treatment 5 times for my eating disorder. I know it's never about the number on the scale. It doesn't matter. I know it's whatever the body wants to release, the body's going to release. You can do, I believe you can do almost everything in the world the doctors tell you, the functional medicine doctors tell you. But if the body says, I'm holding on to it, it's like, you know, I can't beat my body and go, you are going to lose 20 pounds this month. It's going to say, I'll do it when I'm ready.
Yeah, there's some truth in that. And movement is a really big piece. We all need to move, right? We're made, our whole body is a bunch of muscular levers that we're designed to move. We're not designed to sit. Sitting is the new smoking, right? Like sitting actually is creating more disease now than we ever anticipated. Someone who sits 8 hours a day, Jill, isn't able to just go to the gym for an hour and make all that time up. They literally must get up every hour. They must move 5 to 7 minutes every single hour, or that sitting is going to accumulate into destruction on the body.
I'm so glad you said that because I literally, because of this ambulatory state, I literally sit for 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah,
and it's killing me.
Right? Even if you can just move your upper body and do whatever you can with your upper body, like let's have an upper body dance party, right?
Yeah.
Grab a couple of 1-pound weights and put the music on, and just like you can shift around in your chair and still get your heart rate up and still get your body moving. And then what that does is it changes your chemistry, right? You know that, right? You feel so good when you go and do the water aerobics, right? Because it changes you into like this happy chemistry.
That's amazing. I'm really glad you shared that because there's so many people right now just sitting for hours and hours and hours on their computer.
Sorry to interrupt. There's actually this thing that looks like a bicycle, like 2 pedals, but they're handles, and they do this.
Wow.
And you can go either way, and you can exercise your upper body just doing that. And like I said, like even now, the little bit of movement that I did, like, ooh, I can feel my brain like, oh, I got some oxygen up there differently, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a great tip. That is a really great tip. So, with what you're doing, share a little bit about as a child, okay, because I'm sure that you and I have a lot in common. So as a child, you had very healthy parents who were very much into nutrition and stuff, and yet you found yourself struggling with weight and body image issues. So
mostly body image.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is you know, when we were growing up, my mom made all our food. We didn't ever buy junk. She never would let us buy anything icky. You know, that also came with homemade pies and homemade cookies. I actually remember having a Tupperware in the shape of this piece of pie. So like we always had fresh food. We always had, you know, good food, but my mom is naturally tiny, and so is my sister. And so it's not so much that I actually, you know, looking back, right, that I was actually that much overweight, maybe 5 or 6 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe. It was just the appearance of, and I was a dancer, so ballet. And if you didn't look like this back in the 1970s, there was no chance of you being a professional ballerina. And I was told very early on, oh, you're much too fat to ever become a ballerina.
And those were the days of Twiggy.
Those were it's 1970, early 70s, you know, I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I was born in 64. So, so those are the days that if you wanted to be in the American Ballet or New York Ballet Company, I mean, you literally, those were the days of starvation and anorexic ballerinas. I mean, that was just what it was. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of what happened. Like it wasn't so much the number on the scale. It was just that I was being told, oh, you're fat, right? And so you just, you don't know what the number means at that point. You're too young. You just think you're fat. Mm-hmm. So I, you know, so struggle, yes. And yes, I gained weight much easier than my mom, or much easier than my sister. I have diabetes in the family, so that's like one of the big things. Like I never want to go down that road. And so, you know, around, I don't know, I was probably 30, 35, someplace right in there. I finally just got fed up with the struggle and like figured out the mind connection, figured out the body connection, figured out why was I binging? What was that about? Why was I eating too many calories? What was that about? Why was I over portioning? So
would you share, if you're comfortable, I mean, you don't have to go into the whole story, what was the reason behind it? What do you feel?
A lot of it was, and you may or may not believe me when I tell you, a lot of it had to do with, I am a recovering introvert. Mm-hmm. And as an entrepreneur and just out of chiropractic school and just out of school and opening my own practice, I put myself in a lot of really uncomfortable positions as an entrepreneur. I didn't know that was going to be part of it. And so some of it was comfort. Some of it was just pure habit. I hadn't completely gotten on the train of your mom says you need to eat this. And so I was kind of doing some of what I wanted to do. I think I tell the story like when I was really little, and this is when things happen, right? We learn 50% of our habits before we are 4 years old.
Yep, I believe
before we're 4, and 95% before we're 18. Mm-hmm. So think about that. We're running around at some average age as a 10-year-old most of the time in our brain. Mm-hmm. So when my parents would go out, they would leave us this giant bowl of popcorn with a babysitter. And so popcorn was always associated with, oh, somebody's taking care of me. And so like that became the thing, right?
And where was it in front of?
In front of a television, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and not in a bad way, like no negative around it. And it's like this ingrained thing. And if you think that that's ingrained, think about all the behaviors that you have every day that have to do with what you say to yourself about exercise, what you say to yourself about alcohol, what you say to yourself about caffeine, what you say to yourself about every relationship that you ever had. So like all that stuff happens.
So if you take that back for just a moment, because this is my story too. Okay.
Yeah.
And so and I'm sure the audience that's listening, probably 80% of the audience that's listening that have struggled, it's their story too. So and that's why I asked you to slow it down and take it back, because after all the years of being in treatment for eating disorders and having the best nutritionists in the world at treatment centers, I came to the conclusion that my eating disorder started at 5. I had celiac disease that was undiagnosed, so I kept telling my parents I had tummy aches, and of course, being a child of the 50s and told, clean up your plate, which was almost all bread and pasta, I kept getting sick. So I started chewing and spitting my food out into a napkin because it made my tummy feel better not to eat, so I wasn't thriving. And then fast forward it, my parents divorced, and we were latchkey children, and so we were left alone all the time. And of course, we ate all of our meals in front of the TV. And it was connected.
Unconscious.
It was connected to, the TV connected me with connection because it was something talking. It felt like it was my babysitter. And so my comfort for food was the TV. And that slowed down the loneliness and the fear of being left alone. So many of us who've utilized TV as our numbing out agent, because the TV is that numbing out agent, along with the food, gives us comfort. And so what I've learned is to connect the dots. Always connect the dots, because when you can connect the dots, you can then visually see what it is that is bringing on the emotional distress for the food. Because eating disorders, or disordered eating, whichever way you want to describe it, is never ever about the food. It's always about the emotions underlying it. So if you don't do the time to slow it down, take the story and connect it, it's very difficult to overcome it. And I am 66 years old. Like I said, been in treatment many times, and I feel like I'm fully recovered from my eating disorder. However, I still do my snacks at about 8 o'clock at night in front of the TV. It's like I still do that pattern. It's slowed down now, but it's almost like I don't snack all day long, and as soon as I sit down for a TV show, it's like I got to have my clementine oranges, or I got to have I got to have something to hold on to.
Yeah, so those are big, heavy duty belief, thought, behavior, habit, results patterns, right? And so those are the things that the underlying work that I do, particularly on the life coaching side, is breaking those patterns. Okay, so what else could you do at 8 o'clock at night besides watch television? Because that's the actual trigger. And so then it becomes, oh, well, if I read a book, if I took a walk, if I went on my exercycle thing, if there's 100 other things that you could be doing besides sitting, watching television, and eating. I could take up knitting, I could take up crocheting, I could chew gum. Like there's an infinite number of things to break that pattern. It's just being open to wanting to break it and understanding that, you know what, I'm not 8 anymore. I don't need that comfort. I can choose. And it's the same with putting someone on a diet. It's like, well, let's go lower on the complex carbohydrates. So let's reduce the bread, pasta, rice, potato thing, right? We're going to reduce that. It's not 0, it's just reduced. And should you decide to go more than the reduced amount, that's a choice. Yes, you can. It's not going to work towards your goal, and it's not on our current plan. And yes, you can. That way there's no deprivation. The shift in the pattern comes when you say to yourself, yes, I can, and today isn't going to be that day.
And I think like you said, that's
like delay of gratification.
Yeah, and I think shifting the words that we use in life, that's a big thing. Like for me, I had to shift the word diet to food plan or meal plan, because the minute I said diet, I thought, oh, something's wrong with me.
I'm gonna die.
Well, die, or something's wrong with me. I have to do this so I can be more appealing to someone else. And I never, ever, ever now use the word diet. I use meal plan or food plan, and then I have to shift the word from fat and obese to a larger framed person, because putting those thoughts in my mind that I'm fat and obese is, to me, for me personally, it feels shaming, and it feels like, again, it goes back to me thinking something's wrong with me. And I love the organization called
We're Never Broken.
Yeah, I love the organization Health at Every Size, because there are people who are large frame, and they are healthy. They are large frame. Their body is larger. And so I think, too, we live in this world that tells you have to look this specific way. And if you don't, I remember being a member at LA Fitness in Chicago, and they were doing a health fair, and I was leading Eating Disorders Anonymous groups. And so I had a table, and I was handing out the flyers for the Eating Disorders Anonymous meeting. And a man who was in his 70s, who was a fitness instructor at the club, said, "What's this about?" And I says, "Oh, this is, a recovery group for people who are anorexics, or bulimic and binge eaters." And he goes, "Well, it must not be working for you." And this was a personal trainer, and I just wanted to smack him in the face and said, "Oh, no, it's working really well with me. It's working really well with me. Thank you very much." And it again, it's a society that thinks if you are not a specific size, there's got to be something wrong with you. And
yeah, I don't think people are broken. I do think that there's some health risks that come when you're 50, 60, 70 and more pounds on a frame that really isn't able to sustain that in a positive way.
Yeah.
Over the long term. Right. Again, it's like I have a 1974 Corvette sitting out here that needs a lot of work because nobody took care of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you just continue to neglect it, it's not going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's the wording.
Doing everything you can.
Yeah, and it's the wording too. And like you said about deprivation, when I was in treatment at Eating Recovering Center, which was the binge eating disorder treatment center, they trained us and said not to use the word good or bad with food. It's like there's foods that have more nutritional value and less nutritional value, but they always said don't use the words like this is good or this is bad for you, because Dr. Julie Friedman, who was the doctor there, said she made us, you're going to crack up laughing, Kris, because of what you do. She made us once a week do a planned splurge. So if the serving size was, let's say for a pizza, the serving size was 2 slices of pizza and a nice green salad, she'd make you have 3 pieces of pizza and plan that splurge. Or if your food that you like to binge on was Oreo cookies and the serving size was 2 cookies, she'd tell you to eat 3, just to see what it would feel like to do a planned splurge. And she actually made us at least twice a week eat a dessert that had, that maybe someone would say isn't that nutritional, just so that you wouldn't go into deprivation. She says when you deprive yourself from never ever for the rest of your life having a snack that you enjoy, that's when you're going to go into a binge, because you're going to restrict from it for so long, and all of a sudden you're going to go, screw it, I'm not going to do this anymore, and then you go full blown into a binge.
Right. I think that the key words here are not now, or not right now. It's, delaying gratification is a skill that we're supposed to learn before you go to kindergarten, generally. And it's not a skill that's taught, particularly right now in society. Not now. I'd be depriving my child. That's the indulgent parent, and I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail on that. And it's a skill that if we don't learn it, then it will plague us someplace along the line, whether it's in spending or shopping or food or some other workaholism. Someplace along the line, that not now is a skill that can be learned, so that your doctor was doing that exactly right, because it wasn't today. You're going to plan it, so it's just not now. You can have it Friday, and that's how I ended up actually recovering from a lot of my own BS, because okay, no, it's not never, it's just not now. And when I take people through weight loss plans or programs, I never understood the word diet. I don't understand why it's not called a life it. But anyway, just saying. When I take people through plans, it's like, for 6 months, we are going to say no, like 99% of the time. If you have a party in there, we're going to talk about it ahead of time and plan those particular. July 4th is coming up, right? Or somebody's birthday or an anniversary. We're going to plan how we're going to take that on. It's one day, it's one meal, it's one something out of a string of weeks and months. And so it's how fast can you bounce back to your plan?
Yes, exactly.
Even in maintenance, right? Yeah. Even in maintenance, it's like up two, down two, up two, down two. For me, like that's what I do, right? I look at it and go, oh, look, I did that and that and that. I had an extra glass of wine. I had some dessert. Okay, you know what? Not now, right? Until I'm back to where I like to be, and then, right? Like it's just,
It's planning. It's planning.
It's planning.
Yeah, and you know, my
understanding where you are all the time.
Yeah, my very first sales job that I ever had, Kris, my first sales manager taught me that you plan your work and you work your plan, and it's just the same thing. You plan if you're needing to do a health recharge, reboot, you got to have a plan. And you work the plan.
Absolutely.
And you have support. So with that, and how I said about connecting dots, can you share with the audience, during this pandemic, how have you been connecting with others and with your clients during social distancing?
Yeah, just like this, right? I have a group of friends that we do Zappy Hour on Friday night for like happy hour. And yeah, totally fun. Totally fun.
Wow,
we sit back and we have our chosen beverages, and there's about 10 or 12 of us, and we hang out and have fun. I have been doing telehealth and telemedicine I was a forerunner, frankly. I've been doing it 5 or 6 years. When broadband and speeds were terrible and it was glitchy, and often we'd revert to FaceTime. And so I've been doing that for a really long time. So I didn't think it was going to affect my business. However, it has. People are very reluctant to start anything new, which is also an interesting concept during this time. Like they just want to stop everything. Everything's on hold. Their whole life is on hold, which is really sad. So that's the way I've been connecting. And I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. The people I hang out with in my social group and my neighbors are healthy. So we do some social distancing. I wear a mask when I go to the grocery store, and I don't wear a mask if I'm outside. That's what's worked for the most part for me.
That's awesome. So, I ended up, I just couldn't wait anymore. I just said, I don't care. I'm going to visit my grandkids. They're 3.5 hours. They're in the same state. And I went to see them 2 weeks ago. I said, I got to go get a hug. I got to go get a hug from my grandbabies. And we've done, they're the ones in St. Louis, I've got 13, but the ones in St. Louis are 7, 5, and 4. And they love to call me on Messenger Kids and just go, Grandma, let's play a game together. I'm done with my homework. And so when I went there, I said to my husband before we left, I said, no cell phones when we walk in the door. I'm turning them off. I'm sitting down and I'm doing arts and crafts for 2 days. And we sat there and did window art, and we just played games, and it was so much fun because I don't get to do that at home. And I'm like, I need some kid time.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I think having my kids in and out, I have them 50% of the time, that helps. I have 2 dogs, so I'm constant. I have a big dog, and I have to walk him several times a day. So I'm out. I do have an office. I still see patients or clients in person if they want to. So that's where I'm at right now with connection. And
how about dreams? What are your dreams for 2020? We are, believe it or not, we're almost halfway through the year. It's like it zoomed past so quickly. So with what's left of 2020, what do you dream for?
I think that's an interesting observation about 2020. We all had these plans that, this is the year, this is the clarity, there's going to be so much vision and dreaming, and there's all this, right? And then,
boom.
Wow, we have a global pandemic that I will leave my own opinion out of this discussion. However, it's a virus.
That's all.
It's not going anywhere. So I think that people who are into some of the same things that you and I have talked about, right? We understand our beliefs, we understand our thoughts, drive our behavior. So if we can interrupt the thoughts, we can change our behavior. And people who are into that and understand that will pivot very quickly. Again, it's like, how fast do you get back to what, get to what the next thing is. And so I found myself pivoting in a lot of my dreams for this year, and sticking to some of them, just moving the timetable up. So one of the things that I was launching is a speaking business. I really love public speaking. I am a recovering introvert. However, the stage is the perfect place for me. And I believe that teaching some of the concepts that you and I have talked about to a broader market, we can get America healthy again. Our health statistics are terrible, and we wonder why the pandemic is creating such a stir here. We're a very unhealthy population in general. So I just think, that, hey, there's some solutions here. And so I feel led and called by a higher power to get out there and tell more people. So creating online courses, like pivot my business, right? Move the timetable up on those, start putting them out quicker. Go ahead and start a speaking business at a time when audiences are like this. I love video. It's awesome. Why not? What difference does it make whether I'm standing on a stage or I'm standing in front of a camera? I can still impact people in a positive way. And so that's the whole point of it. Writing another book, continuing to see private clients, and opening up to corporate wellness consulting. Because I think that those are things that are going to be really important.
Well, those are some really big dreams. Those are some really big dreams.
And I'd really like to be doing them from a beach.
Yes. Well, we're going to transition into that. So if you had an opportunity to do a getaway experience utilizing some of that, what would the getaway experience be?
My getaway experience would definitely be a beach.
Okay.
For sure. I grew up in Orlando, and the beach was always just this place that called my name. It's where I find God. It's where I see the universe. It's where my happy place is. There's nothing better than, getting up before sunrise on the Atlantic and watching the sun come up and drinking my coffee and then going out for a real sweaty hot run. I mean, that is just, ugh.
Well, it's funny you say that, Kris, because the holistic doctor that I'm seeing here in Branson, Missouri, said to me, my husband and I went to, when we dated, we've been married, we just had our anniversary last week for 20 years. When we dated, we went to Aruba, and that was like, 26 years ago.
Oh gosh, there was nothing there.
Yeah, and so I said to my husband, and we've traveled quite a bit. In his job, we got to go to amazing places every year for free with his company. So we've traveled quite a bit. And so I said to him, we got to get back to Aruba. And so when I started Braveheart workshops, I always had a dream to do something in Aruba. So he and I went there in November for his birthday, and we stayed at the most amazing villa. The owner built 3 villas side by side, and each one has 6 bedrooms, 6 baths. Each one has their own private pool, and they have a living room, dining room, kitchen, and a gorgeous outdoor patio. And all 3 of them sit on a cove of their own little beach. So when you sit on this property, you stare at the ocean just like I am now and see nothing but an occasional Coast Guard boat would go by, an occasional cruise ship you could see in the distance coming into port. But other than that, if you chose to sit on that property all day long, you could be out there naked and no one would see you. It was amazing. And the amazing part is then you could get in the car and drive 20 minutes away and go to casinos and the nightlife and whatever you wanted, if you wanted that. So my doctor had said to me, Jill, get up every morning right before the sun comes up and stare at the sun as it rises with your feet grounded, and it will give you enough vitamin D for the whole day. but you have to look at it as, and or when it's going down. You can stare right into the sun. So I am not ever, have never been, I am not a morning person. So for me to get up before sunrise is a chore. Well, I'm letting you know, Kris, that my body leaped out of bed every morning like it knew I want my vitamin D. And I went out there every morning. I had my Bose speaker, and on my Bose speaker, I had recorded back, I want to say 5 years ago, the most gorgeous meditation where you breathe in love, exhale hate. Breathe in peace, exhale anxiety. It's got about 70 words that I took time. It took me 3 days to look on the computer, the opposite of all these words, and I recorded them. So I would stare into the sun. I would put my Bose speaker on and turn this morning meditation on. The coolest thing happened. As I did this, one day, a whole flock of seagulls came, landed on the fishing pier right next to me, and as they landed, their little feet were going like this, just jumping all over. They started to hear my meditation, and one by one, they went like this and laid down on the pier. It was fabulous to watch nature with gaining peace. They sat there for the whole meditation for 20 minutes, and when it ended, one by one, they slowly stood up, not with their feet, slowly and peacefully, lined up behind each other and soared into the sky.
Oh, that's so cool. What a cool story.
It was so amazing. And so I did this every day with chair yoga and felt so grounded. So anyway, that's my beach thing. So with that, Kris, I'd like to ask you, if you were told by someone that you had to delete all your apps on your cell phone and only were allowed to keep 2 apps, what's your go-to that you have to have every day?
Besides the phone?
It's an app. So the app. You can call people, but it's an app.
Okay. So I would not want to be without my Audible.
Okay.
Because I listen to a ton of books. And I think I wouldn't want to be without I think like my text messages.
Yeah.
Honestly, to stay connected to people, and then be able to call people and text them and read. Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. And it seems like everybody has a connection app they have to keep. A connection app is like a must. So, what is one fun fact about Kris?
Oh, there's lots of fun facts. My kids won't tell you that that's fun, but that I'm very fun. I actually still love to dance, and ballroom is my Latin ballroom is my thing, and a good hustle will get me any day. So salsa and hustle are my favorites. I've
got to connect you with my former chiropractor in Hoffman Estates. You may know him. Do you know Dr. Tom Pusateri?
No.
Oh, I got to connect you with him. He's a chiropractor. He's been in practice for, oh my gosh, 30. Well, my son's 37, and he saw my son when my son was 1 year old. So he's been in practice at least 37, 38 years old. And he just went back. You guys would connect and be the best of friends. He just went back to school to get his veterinarian license because he likes to work. He likes to do adjustments on horses and dogs. So he works on animals and adjusts them, and he uses that. But why I'm sharing that with you, he loves dancing, and he ended up taking ballroom dancing classes, and the lady who taught him said he was phenomenal. So they do circuits, and they go around and do expositions, and he's a fabulous ballroom dancer. Fabulous.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Fabulous. So you guys have a lot in common. Well, I really appreciate you coming onto the show, and what I'd like to do for the audience, as I'm putting up Kris's bio right now on the screen for the audience with her website and her email address. And if you're searching for someone who's phenomenal at life coaching, nutrition, and health, please reach out to Kris and, at least make that phone call with her and see how she might assist you right now. She lives in Illinois, but because of the virtual world, you can do clients anywhere around the country, correct?
Correct.
Yep. So
absolutely,
please reach out to her, and we hope that she'll be able to connect with you. And I for one, want to talk to her after the show because I have some cool things I want to maybe do. And the thing about, doing these wonderful live shows with people like Kris is I do look for leaders like Kris to be speakers on my show. So if you'd like to be a speaker on my show, please reach out to me. And I also look for leaders who have their own followings who would love to do events anywhere around the world. And so I do the Getaway experiences. I have some scheduled, one in Aruba in October, one in Montana at a horse ranch, and one in Branson, Missouri. So if you're looking for a Getaway experience and you are a leader with a following, please reach out to me. And if you're a guest that's listening, an audience listening, please look at our website as well. One of the things that Braveheart Workshops just started to do in the last 2 weeks is we began doing the Connection Show, and now we're doing Connection Show gatherings live on Monday nights, where you can join us on Zoom meetings on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Mountain, or 5 p.m. Pacific, and join us for connection groups so that you can build some new friendships and connect with others. The beauty of the Connection Show is that by gathering together and us having dreams and wanting to maybe have health together and wellness, we can connect together and then maybe at some point decide, hey, it was so amazing meeting you on a Zoom, let's go to Aruba together, or let's go to Montana together. So I really do hope you'll join us. And at the end of the show, I will put the links on how you can join in on those Zoom meetings. So thanks so much, Kris, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing everyone on Monday evening for the Connection Gathering Tribe. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much, Kris.
Thanks, Jill. Appreciate it.
Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life. Go to braveheartworkshops.com. Join me for weekly Zoom connections on Facebook at facebook.com Braveheart Workshops. Thanks so much for joining the show, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday nights.